What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. And this one's going to be fun because we're talking about the OnePlus 8. And out of all the phones that I've reviewed recently, this one has me the most divided. There's a part of me that thinks this is a really solid offering from OnePlus. And there's another part of me that thinks OnePlus could have made some small changes to this device that make it an even better value for how much it costs. So let's start off by talking about what OnePlus did really well with the 8. That Interstellar Glow color is amazing. Out of all the available colors on the OnePlus 8 line, the Interstellar Glow is by far my favorite. And it's so crazy that it seems to have a different color at almost every single angle that light hits it. So you'll see hits of yellow, pink, bluish gray, sometimes even like a light faded green. It's absolutely incredible that OnePlus was able to implement a color like this. Now, they achieved it by using super glossy glass on the back of the phone. So yeah, you get those super dope colors, but just know that if you're like me and you don't like to use a case, it's going to pick up a lot of fingerprints. Now I know this next point is going to be subtle to some people, but the OnePlus 8 feels really nice in the hand. And that's honestly a big deal considering how much time we spend every day holding our smartphones. Now it's able to achieve this by being thinner, shorter, and narrower than the OnePlus 8 Pro. So overall, the feel in the hand is excellent. And here's a weird one for you. If you decide to order the OnePlus 8 unlocked directly from OnePlus, it doesn't come with an official IP68 water and dust resistance rating. But if you're in the US and you go to a T-Mobile or a Verizon store and pick up a OnePlus 8 off their shelf, it will come with an official IP68 water and dust resistance rating. Even though I'm willing to bet there's no difference in the manufacturing process between the unlocked models and the carrier specific models. So no, the OnePlus 8 does not come with an IP68 water and dust resistance rating, even though it probably should. There's also no wireless charging, and I have two theories as to why this happened. Theory one is that OnePlus decided to completely omit wireless charging in order to reduce manufacturing costs, which in turn makes the phone cheaper for a consumer to buy. Or theory two is that standard wireless charging has never lived up to OnePlus's charging standards. So rather than incorporate standard wireless charging, they decided to omit it. And if they were to put 30-watt wireless charging, like what you'd find on the Pro, it would make the device more expensive than it should be. Me personally, I would have been okay if they would have just included a standard wireless charging setup, considering a phone like the $399 iPhone SE has wireless charging on board. And I feel like they should have given their consumers that type of charging flexibility, because you may not need to just plug it into a fast wire charger all the time. Maybe you just want to set the phone down on a pad and just let it charge. I don't know. But either way, I would have been cool if they would have just included a standard wireless charging system. I understand not throwing the 30-watt system in there. Now the good news is that while it doesn't come with wireless charging, it does come with 30-watt charging wired available in the box, which is really nice. So the times that you do plug in the device, you are recharging it at an incredibly fast rate. But you probably won't have to do that too often because my battery life on the OnePlus 8 was actually really solid. The phone comes with a 4,300 milliamp hour battery, and obviously screen on time and how long the phone lasts on a single charge is going to highly depend on how you use the phone. But for my general day-to-day usage, which includes watching a good amount of YouTube videos, browsing the web, reading news articles, occasionally playing 3D games, and the occasional GPS navigation, I wasn't able to fully drain the device even after a full day's use. And there are several changes made to the hardware of the OnePlus 8 that also help with increasing battery life, like a maximum display resolution of 1080p and a maximum refresh rate of 90 Hz. But don't let the 90 Hz or the 1080p resolution deter you from the OnePlus 8. This 1080p panel is one of the best I have ever seen. Overall, it gets incredibly bright and colors are super vivid and also super accurate. And for those of you that like to look for pixels on a 1080p panel, you're gonna have a hard time seeing them because the overall quality of this display is fantastic. And while I know a lot of other phones, especially flagship Android phones, are launching with a 120 Hz refresh rate, having a 90 hertz refresh rate is still really nice. And the difference between 60 hertz and 90 hertz is much more noticeable than the difference between 90 hertz and a 120 hertz display. Now, let's talk about one of the more interesting aspects of the OnePlus 8, and that's its camera system. So the OnePlus 8 comes with a triple camera system, a 48 megapixel wide angle, a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle, and a 2 megapixel dedicated macro lens. Now, the quality of photos produced from the wide angle and the ultra wide angle actually remind me a lot of previous OnePlus phones in that you're able to capture decent to pretty good quality photos in optimal lighting conditions. Now, the photos and videos produced by those main sensors are not going to be anything that you'd probably consider flagship quality, but that should be pretty apparent considering the OnePlus 8 is not their flagship phone, and OnePlus literally used a downgraded lens for the primary sensor compared to what they used in the 8 Pro. Now, let's talk about the least usable lens on the entire setup, and that's the dedicated macro lens. So I was super excited when OnePlus announced a dedicated macro lens for the OnePlus 8, but once you start using it and taking a look at the photos it reproduces, you'll quickly start to lose that excitement. So the photos the dedicated macro lens produces are not that great in terms of light they capture, detail they capture, or colors that they reproduce. And just take a look for yourself. I took a couple of photos of subjects using the standard wide angle, and then I followed it up by getting really close to the subject and taking photos using the dedicated macro lens. And you can see that not only lighting is incredibly different, but the colors and the details produced are not the same. And that's really a bummer because I was super excited about having a dedicated macro lens on this particular system. And just in case you were curious, the OnePlus 8 can capture video in 1080p and 4K at both 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. And it can even capture slow-mo video in 720p at 480 frames per second and 1080p at 240 frames per second. So while the camera system on the OnePlus 8 is pretty solid, here's how I would improve it. I would completely remove the non-usable macro lens and use the savings of implementing a dual camera system to upgrade the wide angle and the ultra wide angle lens to the same ones found on the 8 Pro. Now, omitting one lens entirely should hopefully still keep the manufacturing costs lower, but using the same lens found on the 8 Pro allows you to still retain the macro mode, because on the 8 Pro, macro mode is built into the primary sensor. I feel like this would lead to better quality photos and videos overall, and it would kind of mimic what Apple does with their iPhones, where they'll take out one lens in order to make the camera system cheaper overall, but the quality of the two lenses that they keep match the quality of the lenses found on their Pro phones. I don't know, that's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think about the camera system down in the comments below. And of course, I mention this in every review of every OnePlus device we make, but performance and overall software on the OnePlus 8 is incredible. My particular OnePlus 8 in the Interstellar Glow color comes with the Snapdragon 865, 256 gigs of storage, and 12 gigabytes of RAM. One kind of quirk to note is that the OnePlus 8 features LPDDR4X RAM versus LPDDR5 on the OnePlus 8 Pro. So you get slightly faster RAM on the 8 Pro, but trust me, you're not going to notice any differences whatsoever in terms of overall performance. And that's super apparent because OnePlus takes a lot of pride in the optimizations they bring to their operating system and the features that they include as well. And one thing that I forgot to mention in our 8 Pro review, in terms of one of my favorite recent enhancements to Oxygen OS, you can now swipe left to access your Google feed, which used to be either exclusive to the Pixel or you would have to download a Google specific launcher on your device to get that feature. but OnePlus made it native. So you can tell they definitely take their software into serious consideration and do what they can to make it the best experience possible. So performance and software has never been a worry. It's incredible. So that's why I'm so divided on the OnePlus 8, because on one hand, I really enjoy the overall package and I really enjoy using the phone every single day. But on the other hand, I feel like there were just some small changes that OnePlus could have made to maximize the value of this phone for how much you pay, which in this case would be $699 for the glacial green color and $799 for the Interstellar Glow color. Now, some of the changes I would have implemented would be to put some sort of basic wireless charging and remove one of the lenses and upgrade the other two sensors in order to keep the camera's performance on par with the Pro model. I feel like those two particular changes would have maximized the value of the OnePlus 8. But overall, it's still a great phone. It just may not be the best value that OnePlus has on offer right now. But if you guys enjoyed the review, make sure you guys hit subscribe down below. And seriously, you should definitely subscribe because one of our upcoming videos is about to be super awesome. And you really don't want to miss it. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe. Let me know what you thought about the review in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Out of all the recent phones I've reviewed, has me the most divided. There's a part of me that thinks this is a really solid phone from OnePlus, but there's also me a part of.